Welcome to Sales, Tax, and More, your go-to resource for all things state tax related. Now, here is your host, Michael Fleming.
Hi, Mike Fleming here, founder of Sales, Tax, and More, and today's co-host of the Sales, Tax, and More podcast, where we generally talk about everyone's favorite topic, which is sales tax. Today, however, we're going to step away from sales tax, talk about managing working capital solutions from an online seller's perspective with a very special guest from Payoneer, TJ Highland. But before we get to introducing TJ, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Ellie Moffett. Ellie, you want to jump in and say hi?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here as always. And I'm going to introduce Sales, Tax, and More quickly here. Sales, Tax, and More is a full-service consulting and solutions firm. We have a really great team here of experienced tax professionals who are very dedicated to fulfilling your state tax and related needs. So we do a lot of returns, registrations, consultations, research, and like our name states, more. So if you have questions about our services, please reach out and ask. We're more than happy to answer those questions, and we will give you lots of ways for you to reach out and contact us. But I'm going to flip it back to you, Mike.
Okay, thanks very much, Ellie. And, I've known and worked with TJ over the years, and I found him to be very smart, very accomplished. He's the head of partnerships at Payoneer, responsible for the U.S. region. Primary focus has been to build the U.S. partner ecosystem, to support that ever-growing, niche in the online seller market, whether that's helping those sellers, do cross-border transactions or helping them with the needed capital to grow their businesses. As an e-commerce specialist and foreign exchange consultant, he's unique insight into selling on international marketplaces. He makes a great guest for us. So he's worked with online sellers for the past 6 years, knows the struggles that they face on a daily basis. So at this point, TJ, you want to say a quick hi before we jump in here?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. As Mike led to, we've worked together in various capacities over the last couple of years, generally on the FX and sales tax side. But today we're going to talk about a little bit different topic, and I'll let you introduce it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, we've worked with Payoneer to help our clients move their money either back home to their home country, easily and efficiently, or to move money from their home country, to pay their taxes here in the U.S. And while, companies still need help with those types of issues, the needs and challenges that online sellers face is constantly evolving. So, TJ, why don't you give us your perspective on what you're seeing some of these challenges are today?
Yeah, so we know, the online selling world is filled with different nuances of, what to do, pulling different levers to get to a certain place of success. But with that, there's definitely challenges. And, one thing that I want to talk about today was the challenges that sellers have with working capital. If we look at the working capital solution that Payoneer has, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but if we look at capital in general, it's not always easy for sellers to get access to it. We say that there's definitely a level in which you have to reach as an online business or as a Amazon or a marketplace seller before you become bankable, before your bank will recognize you as a business and offer you, a line of credit or a loan or something like that. Because, the notion of selling products online, although it's kind of taken the world by storm in the last 4 or 5 months, the notion of selling things online as a seller, a third-party seller, is still a little obscure to some of the more traditional financial platforms like banks or even alternative lenders. So some of the challenges that they face or sellers face is actually getting access to that capital. I think it was something like QuickBooks report last year said that 61% of businesses around the world regularly struggle with cash flow. So, here we're talking about sellers, but in general, businesses are struggling with cash flow. And I think even more so, new businesses struggle with cash flow, or they run out of cash. And if in the seller world, you're really spending your money on two or three different things. It's product or inventory. You're spending it on marketing or advertising, and then obviously any sort of tax or payment obligations that you need to make after that. So if you don't necessarily have enough inventory, then you can't make your sales. If you don't have enough cash, you can't buy the inventory to make the sale. So it's that whole cycle of making sales, getting enough cash to fund your next order, to make sure you have product to make your next sale. There's definitely huge gaps. And from a seller perspective, that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a big challenge for those sellers. So can you tell us a little bit how an extra cash flow can help solve sellers' challenges?
Yes, I touched on it there just really briefly, but the inventory cycle is something that is really a place where additional cash flow lends itself to. We know that a lot of sellers source their products from overseas. So whether that's from China, from Southeast Asia, from India, and the cycle in which you find a supplier, place an order, then receive a sample, place your full order, and then actually receive your products if they're coming by sea or by air. You're working with a couple of months now. And if you are already a seller and you're looking to take your business to the next level, this injection of cash flow can really help speed up that process. You won't have to wait until you get the sales from all of your existing inventory to make that second order. You can take the cash flow that you have now while you're still making sales and then pay for your orders, knowing that you'll make the sales eventually on your, say, original order to pay back any sort of cash advance or working capital solution.
Yeah, and TJ, this is something that we've been hearing a lot about, over the last couple of months. It's been exaggerated, but you build up such a momentum and you've got your sales working and you sell out quicker than you thought. That's, you would think, would be a good problem to have, but if you don't have the inventory there right away to replace it, you lose a lot of that momentum. So what I hear you saying is this can help speed up that second order, get the inventory moving through the cycle a lot quicker, so that it's less likely that we're going to be running out of inventory, in these different situations.
Right, and in terms of the marketplace situation, selling on Amazon, losing momentum because you don't have enough inventory is usually drastic to your business, because you've worked so hard to get the buy box or get on the first page of search results for certain keywords. And we could touch on marketing in a second, but you work so hard to get your prime position on Amazon. And then because you have no more stock, then all that hard work over the last weeks, months, whatever it is to get to that point goes to waste, because if you have no inventory, they're not going to list you on the first page. They're definitely not going to list you in the buy box. So then you kind of have to restart that process again. And what that does is it really puts a taxing toll, pun intended, tax people, on your marketing budgets, because that's generally how you get to the buy box. And if we talk about working capital in terms of marketing budgets, it's a huge opportunity there. So, where we typically see the top two spends are inventory and then marketing. So to touch on marketing just briefly, whether it's marketing within Amazon, which over the last couple of years has become increasingly more expensive because of, I think it's something like 60-something% of searches that used to begin on Google now actually begin directly on Amazon. So with that, Amazon controls that piece of the pie. They can increase their prices. Also, from a seller perspective, it's more competitive. So they know that, if we're all bidding on water bottles, then, they have the opportunity there to one-up each other. So, keeping up your marketing efforts, keeping up your product in inventory or in stock, then allows you to not fall to second place, third place, fourth place behind your competitors, or in some cases behind Amazon if they're selling a similar product.
Absolutely.
So funding is important. We know that, and people are having issues funding. So TJ, what are funding alternatives available for sellers these days?
Yeah, so the number one that comes up most often is probably Amazon lending. And it's been in the news a little bit lately because they've sort of revamped with Goldman Sachs and their Marcus program. So, there's a lot of theories behind why people would take Amazon lending over an alternative lender, a bank, or, a solution like Payoneer. Some people believe that if you have a loan from Amazon, that they're less likely to shut you down for whatever reason, because they obviously want to get paid back that loan. I have it on good authority that means absolutely nothing. They will shut you down if they want to shut you down, and it doesn't matter if they give you a loan. So I wouldn't necessarily believe that too much. But in terms of alternative lending, Amazon lending is a great solution because they are already connected. They see your sales data. There's probably no extra steps that you need to do. When you are setting up to sell on Amazon, you are providing them with the information that they need. Now, if we look outside of Amazon or outside of any marketplace, there are probably the alternative lender world, which fare better for sellers than banks. Like we talked about earlier, banks just don't really still understand sellers. Even if it's a regional bank or Citibank or JP Morgan or whoever you use, there's still a big gap in knowledge there. So if we look at alternative lenders like the Cabbages of the world or the OnDecks or any of those, they can provide a solution to sellers here. But again, there's going to be the gap where they don't understand the selling online. And I think you then have to look back and say, who does understand the online selling experience? And to maybe jump into Payoneer now, we absolutely do. So for the last 15 years or so, we've been working with both marketplaces and sellers to understand different parts of the online selling experience. Yes, it was mainly surrounding the cross-border selling experience where businesses needed a receiving account to help bring their funds back or make international payments or make tax and VAT payments. But we also realized that there are more gaps that we think that we can fill from a financial perspective. And our Payoneer Capital Advance solution was actually derived out of customer feedback. So every year we send out a big customer survey, and overwhelmingly in 2018, the response was that we struggle with cash flow. We struggle to keep our products in stock. We struggle to keep up with our competitors to stay competitive on these marketplaces. So internally, we went back and drew up, and it obviously took a lot of work, but created a solution with sellers in mind first, and leveraging the information that marketplaces like Amazon and Walmart will provide to you in terms of seller data to then turn around and say, okay, we will underwrite this business, and from there, provide them an advance that will help their business go from here to here to here.
All right. So, this Payoneer Capital Advance sounds great. You've touched on some of the advantages for sellers, but they've been spread throughout, our conversation here. Do you have like a bullet point main advantages you can tell us of the Payoneer Capital Advance over other solutions?
Sure. And I don't want to harp on it, but the first main and major point is that this product was designed for sellers specifically. We didn't have a lending product and then altered it to support sellers. It was from the ground up created for marketplace sellers. So to help them take their business to the next level. We view it as really an opportunity enablement. So whether it's a quick injection of cash to get a good deal from your supplier, if they say, okay, you need, if you buy 20% more, we'll give you 50% off or something like that. But perhaps you don't have that, you don't have the money in the bank to facilitate that, even if it is that much more or that much less. We view it as an opportunity to really invest in your market and go from just a business that's selling online to creating a full brand and giving you something that you can take that you started on a marketplace off a marketplace or grow off a marketplace, not necessarily leave the marketplace, but start your own website or start your own onto different marketplaces and really focus on creating a brand. And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to have an end goal and an exit plan. So with a lot of online sellers, they're serial entrepreneurs. And you sell one product and maybe that one doesn't hit. And then you sell another product, maybe that one's a big hit. And now you have the money and now you can move to the next level. But there's always going to be these capital constraints. So, from a main advantage over the Payoneer Capital Advance solution is, we've created two products now. One that's about a 3-month term, but it's actually a flexible repayment model. So it's not necessarily that you're paying a specific amount back of the advance each month. We actually, as the fee, you're basically paying a percentage back of your sales. So why that's advantageous is, as we know in the seller world, you're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have big months of sales and low months. So if you're committed to paying, say, $5,000 a month with a traditional loan, and you have a really bad month of sales, maybe you ran out of inventory, you're still obligated to make that payment. And if you don't, there's going to be additional fees. The way that the Payoneer Capital Advance works is we take a percentage of your payouts from whichever marketplace towards repayment. So, the way that it works is, it's going to work out to be about a 100-day product. But if you have a couple of low months of sales, perhaps you can go a little bit longer, say 3, 4, 5 months before, we have to start collecting a little bit more. So it's meant to really, I keep saying it, but have the seller's best interest in mind. I think also what's interesting about the Payoneer Capital Advance is, it's not a loan. And that's something that's really important to get across, is we're not doing credit checks against the business or the person who's running it, which people obviously are concerned about at times. And, we're, really just looking at your sales on your Amazon account over the past 6 months before we can determine what to underwrite. So we're not going to give you the opportunity to take $100,000 if your sales are $20,000 a month. So we're going to give you an amount or offer you an amount that is within your own means.
Oh, that sounds great. I mean, some great advantages there. Now, I have what may be a silly question. Everything that we've worked with Payoneer has always been cross-border transactions. So I just want to make sure for our listeners that there are no limitations. Like, can U.S. companies selling on U.S. markets use this for their inventories?
That's a great question, and probably something I should have covered in the beginning. This is exactly that. So it's U.S.-based businesses that are selling within the U.S., whether it's on Amazon U.S. or Walmart U.S., are absolutely available to take the solution. And that circles back to the beginning and why we really created this product, because we only worked with cross-border sellers. And sure, we had Chinese businesses and European businesses and Canadian businesses that were selling into the U.S., but in the largest marketplace with the largest number of sellers, we didn't have a product that could help them, no matter what it was. So this working capital solution gave us the ability to address that market and provide a solution for them at the same time.
Yeah. So TJ, I know there's a big appetite for products like this out there. How can sellers learn more about this specifically, or if they have questions for you, how can they apply? How can they reach you? What's the best way to go about doing that?
Absolutely. So from the very jump, if you want to just find out some more information on our website, payoneer.com, there's a page called Capital Advance, and it actually says Capital Advance for Amazon and Walmart sellers. So you'll be able to find that. Otherwise, I'm more than happy for anyone to reach out to me directly. And my email, which I'm sure we can share later, is tjhy@payoneer.com. Like I said, happy to speak to any seller, any business that has questions to see if this is the right product for you. And like we always say, Mike, I'm not going to push this on you if it's not right for you. It has to be right for you. If you are a business of a different size and you prefer the terms that are more in a loan, and you want a fixed amount and a fixed percentage and how that works, perhaps that's for you. But this product was created for sellers, and we really think it's the best for sellers of all sizes, whether you're been selling for just 6 months, whether you've been selling for 5 years and you're a multi-million-dollar seller, we have solutions for you.
Yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity for a lot of sellers out there, especially when it's based upon the business's cash flow, really, rather than on anyone's credit or anything else like that. So really appreciate the information today, TJ. As always, you're a great source of information, and we want to thank you for appearing today. Anything that you want to say to the audience here before we sign off?
No, I mean, we talk about selling internationally and how people view it as a scary thing, and how there's a lot of unknowns surrounding selling internationally. And I think similar things could be said here about working capital. From a person, from a business perspective, you might only know about loans. You might not know what a merchant cash advance or a working capital solution, and even more so what Payoneer's solution is. But what you always have to do is do your research and find out what product is right for you. And I fully believe that if you are a seller selling on a marketplace like Amazon or Walmart in the US, this is a great solution for you. So absolutely feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much, TJ. And thanks again for being a great guest. For the rest of you out there, we appreciate you listening in. And if you have any sales tax needs, we offer many solutions and services. You can reach out to my co-host, Ellie Moffitt, directly at emoffitt@salestaxandmore.com. That's all spelled out. So Ellie's last name is Moffat, so emoffitt@salestaxandmore.com. Or visit our website. We've got lots of great, complimentary resources up there, in addition to descriptions about our services. So that is www.salestaxandmore.com. Again, all spelled out. And we appreciate y'all being here, and look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to click subscribe and check out all of the resources we have out on the web.